0.13 ERA. Let's get to our main man, Dave Flemming, joining us on the River Islands guest line. All guests on 95.7 The Game appear on the River Islands guest line. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands, River Islands in Lathrop? Flem, what is happening? We're in a different slot. I know we feel fresh, we feel lively. We've gotten some sleep here, but I want to start the conversation with this, Flem. We're having some fun earlier in the show. Top 5 fictional football players, top 5 fictional baseball players, top 5 fictional basketball player. If I was to ask you your top fictional baseball player in a baseball movie, who would it be?
Or show.
It could be show, too. It could be show.
What do you mean by top?
So, like, your favorite fictional character.
Here we go. So, for example, right, for me, if I was thinking about baseball fictional characters, I was telling Bonte, emotionally, the dad and Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams having a catch, on the field, like, to me, like, that's now, losing my pops and stuff with my son, like, that's a top character now for me all time. When he says, Dad, can we have a catch?
I love Diddy the J. Rodriguez from the Sandlot. I love him with the PF Flyers or whatnot.
All good choices. That's a hard question.
It is a hard one.
I think the most realistic baseball movie was Bull Durham. Like, I think Bull Durham captured minor leagues better than, well, I mean, not many have actually attempted that, but it captured the essence of baseball better than any movie. So, I'd almost lean towards the Tim Robbins character as opposed to Crash Davis, but I might go Crash Davis just because all the sort of the nuggets and the wisdom and the stuff that gets talked about. I was in the minor leagues, and that movie was amazingly accurate.
I love that. All right, so look, I'm looking at the Giants, and you tell me if I'm crazy on this. Like, Lubman and I were doing our podcast today, and we were arguing, and he was like, hey, playoffs, it's all important, and playoffs. And I say, hey, look, man, like, I understand the zoom in, it's about this year, and there's big stakes, and I get all that. But as I zoom out, because at times you do have to zoom out and think big picture, boy, that might have been the best half a rookie has had in over a decade for anyone on the Giants. And I'm looking at what they've got now with Bailey and Ramos. And big picture, I feel really good about this year's chances in the playoffs. I don't. How should Giants fans feel as they're getting ready for this second half here?
I hate to tell anybody how they should feel. How do I feel? I feel the way that you do. There are a lot of big-time positives, and probably Ramos now is number one on the list. It's interesting because for a team that has really earned its record, like if you dig deep into the underlying stuff, the Giants are about exactly where they should be. So that's discouraging because I think we all, we felt like this team should be better than 3 games under 500. But I also think that there have been enough real, true positives from the first half to make me excited about the Giants going forward. So I kind of probably feel a lot the way that you do. If what we saw from Blake Snell at the end of the first half can really, truly translate to from now through the end of the season, they have a shot. They have a shot to go on a long win streak and actually get in and do some damage. So I still think there's hope for this season, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff that's happened for the Giants to give you a bigger picture feel of where this franchise is headed.
Yeah, Flem, I'm kind of with you with Blake Snell. I've bought stock into Blake Snell. His lifetime numbers in July, August, and September have been phenomenal. I think Blake Snell is not going to be a problem in the second half of the season for the Giants. I think the guy we saw the last 2 starts on that homestand, I believe, is the guy we'll see if he's on this team after the deadline for the foreseeable future here. But 7 of the next 11 against Colorado. And then you got the 4 against the Dodgers, and boy, it feels like a great time to face the Dodgers. With all the injuries that they have going on and everything going on with their roster and their pitching staff, it feels like the Giants, if there's not a time, now's the time to get hot. If they can't get hot over the next 11 games, how do you think it'll dictate the trade deadline if they can't get hot against Colorado and the Dodgers?
Yeah, I do. Those are a couple questions rolled into one, all good questions. I agree with you that this is the biggest week of the year. Like the Giants have not played well enough away from home. They've been a pretty good home team this season. If you just look at the bottom line, like, okay, how do you get to even 85 wins? What is that now? Like, I mean, you gotta really go on a run. Like, 38 and 20-ish or something. You know, they have to really play well over these last 65 games or whatever it is. So how do you do that? You can't only win at home. You got to play better on the road. So this is a huge week to establish that you can do that. As you get your pitching lined up and get some guys back, you got to play better on the road. And you're right. Like, you're never getting the Dodgers at a better time.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rockies are not a great team. Even though you're playing at Coors Field, they're not a great team. So I'm with you on that part of it. You know, can they make an argument to be buyers at the deadline? I think they really could if they had a great week plus, then they can make that argument. But I do think the flip side of what you're talking about is true. If they don't play well this week, there is an argument to not a tear down, but there's definitely a case to be made that they could sell off some pieces at the deadline if they don't play well this week.
Now, how disappointing would that be? Coming into the season with the payroll that they've had and the pitching staff they've amassed here and all the talk about, hey, man, playoffs. That would be would that be disappointing, Flem, if they did become sellers this season?
It would be, there's no way around it. It would be really disappointing. It would be, there would be no way to couch that other than the year's been disappointing.
Right, because I hear you on the pillars with the youngsters. I'm with you there with Bailey and Ramos and some of the things we've seen. That's the zoom out. But for this team and this regime, I know you can't get into Farhan and what could happen with him, but I think it would be a massive disappointment if they did start selling in a couple weeks.
Yeah, but I think this, one thing about Farhan is I don't believe he's a cover my own rear end kind of guy. Like, Farhan believes deeply in doing the best thing for the franchise. And so I don't believe it's going to, if he decides this team is just not good enough to get there and there's a great deal to be made that would help the Giants' future, he's going to make it, period. I think the default for everybody is give this team a chance to take it all the way through to the end. Most of these deadline deals, most of them don't end up doing enough for your future to make it worth it to punt on a season where you still have a chance. You know what I mean? Like, most of these trades are not bringing back. Now, there could be an exception. There could be a deal out there, could be, with so few sellers, that there could be a deal to get you a guy that you've circled somewhere, a young player that, hey, this can be a big part of our future. And that would be tough to pass up. So I think it's going to be a really hard decision to make. You're going to take it all the way down to the end, get as many games under your belt as possible to see where we stand as a team, and then make your decision, and only make a trade to sell if you're getting something really valuable back in return, and where simultaneously you can continue to run Harrison and Birdsong and Ramos and Matos and Wisely and Bailey, those guys out there, and continue to pile up more info about how big a part of your future those guys can be. So it doesn't have to be the rest of the season is waste. It doesn't have to be that. But if they want to avoid that, they got to play well this week. Have to.
All right, so you referenced a couple of people. There's so many that I want to get to. I want to rat-a-tat-tat a couple. Second half, just a thought about what they need to do or what you want to see from them. I'll rat-a-tat-tat a couple. Just the first sentence or two that comes to mind. Hayden Birdsong.
Control the fastball better.
Okay.
Like that.
What about Kyle Harrison tonight?
Almost the same thing for me for Kyle. Like, both those guys are in the same bucket for me. Like, they're both young and they're both unrefined. Tighten up. Like, you gotta find a way, not necessarily to be more efficient. Stop wasting so many pitches to fall behind in the count. Be more aggressive with your stuff. They both have great stuff. If they can do that, they can take a big step forward.
Camilo Duvall.
Gosh, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things with him. I'll say the number one thing. Forget all the psychobabble stuff, which some of that is applicable to Camilo. Like, you got to have a better attitude. You got to have a better mindset out there. You got to clean up all the little details that he continues to fail to clean up. All those things do apply, but the stuff hasn't been as good either. It just hasn't been. find a way, whether it's, fine work in the bullpen or whatever. We need to see that explosive movement with the fastball, with the slider. The stuff has to be a little better. So for me, that's the number one thing. You can have all the other problems, but the stuff, if you dig down deep, it just hasn't been quite as good. And you can find that. You dig into the StatCast stuff, you can find it with him.
What do you do with both middle infield spots in the second half, second base and shortstop?
Yeah, I mean, I think Wisely's making a case to be a big part of this team going forward. Tyro's got to play a lot better. Like, there's a lot of pressure on Tyro in the next 60 games, a lot. He has to show that he's better than the player he's been for the first half plus of this season. Because Wisely's more natural spot is definitely second base. Like, that's not to say he can't play short, and it's really valuable to have a guy who can fill in over there, but my gut tells me he's not your future stop defensively. My gut tells me they still need a better option long-term at shortstop and that crowd second base. And it may, that's the kind of competition you want. Like, show us as a franchise, which one of you guys wants to be our guy going forward.
Dave Flemming here with Bonte and Butch here on 95.7 The Game, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. Couple more for you, Flem. What happens with Jordan Hicks in the second half of the season?
Yeah, good question. You got to work with him. Like, Jordan's been so. You can say what you want about the bottom line results, but he deserves a ton of credit for doing what he's done to this point, and so he's earned the right to have a say in how you move forward. He's realistic enough to know that he can't just take it all the way to the end going 5 innings a night. Like, that's probably not realistic. So just make sure that you're working with him to where he's okay with the plan you have and send him to the bullpen at some point. Like, whether that's right now or a few more starts when you get Ray and Cobb back and get the guys going. But I think he can be a weapon for you still. You might not be able to use him like you would if reliever all year. It might not be a back-to-back night situation or you might have to use him a little differently. He can still help this team a lot.
All right. Expectations. What are the realistic expectations for Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb? Because I'm not going to lie to you, Flem, I'm getting a little excited about, especially Robbie Ray. I'm kind of having these visions here for three, Logan Webb, Blake Snell, Robbie Ray in a short series. That could be nasty for an opposing team. What should our expectations be for Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb?
Yeah, I had a better answer. I do. I mean, I think Robbie Ray, the expectation should be pretty high. Like, Robbie Ray looks great physically. He's throwing hard. He's got a track record of dominance when he's healthy and right. Can he be fine with his command coming back immediately? I don't know, but I think the expectation should be pretty high. To me, he's the really intriguing one. The bottom line with him is if he pitches really well, he's going to opt out.
Yeah.
And so then you got a big decision on your hands with him. But root for that. Like,
yep.
if he pitches well enough to do that's a good thing for the Giants. Like, that is not a bad thing. Cobb is in a different bucket for me. Like, I love Cobb. He's a leader on this team. He's a great dude. The body seems to be breaking down now. And if he can get through the end of the year healthy, maybe you got a chance to bring him back. You like him here. If you're not counting on him to be a full season starter, you might be able to kind of fit him into your plans for next year without counting on him in the way that you would earlier in his career. I'm just pulling for Cobb just to have a positive finish to what's been a frustrating year. Ray is in a different category. Like, Robbie Ray, you could see some dominance from him, and it'd be really cool.
Dave, I have to insert the joke when there is one.
Don't do it. Are you saying
there's not a lot of corn left on the cob?
Oh.
We may be down to our final few kernels. We might be.
Oh, God. Joe Spadoni wanted us to say it. I refuse to say it, Flem. I wasn't going to put you in that spot, but you played the game well, man. I'd rather Shasky or Joe Spadoni take the bullet for us, man. Unbelievable. Flem, have fun out there in Colorado, man. 7 of the next 11. It's a great stretch for the Giants, man, to get right here. Let's go, baby. Let's get to August, man. Hopefully they're playing for something by the time September rolls around.
I sure hope so. I mean, there have been enough really good things happening with this team. I still have a lot of belief. So I haven't told Javi this, but on the TV side tonight, I might, just drop this is the most important weekend of the whole season. See what he says.
That's something I always use every week, Flip. So as long as you only use it once every 3 months, that's fine. And tell Javi we said hi. I love you and Javi together. I love you and Pitts, but Javi's really grown in that role, man. I really love Javi Lopez. He's great.
He's doing a great job. He really is. So we'll see if we can dial up a few wins this weekend.
Absolutely, Flem. We'll talk to you next week, man, around the time the Dodgers are hosting the Giants down at Dodger Stadium. Flem, take care.
Okay.
All
Talk
right,
to you soon.
All right, baby. Dave Flemming here on the Morning Roast, courtesy of the River Islands guest line.